widow's secret. The rain fell in sheets, drumming against the window panes of the grand Blackwell estate. Inside, Eleanor Blackwell sat alone in the dimly lit parlor, her black mourning dress an austere reminder of her husband's recent death. The whispers in the village had grown louder in the weeks since Lord Blackwell's sudden demise, and Eleanor found herself at the center of scandalous accusations. The official cause of death had been poisoning, a lethal dose of arsenic detected in his evening brandy. The whispers claimed Eleanor had motive. Her husband, a domineering man twice her age, had left her little joy in their 7 years of marriage. Now, as the sole heir to his vast fortune, she stood to gain everything. But Eleanor knew the truth. She hadn't killed her husband. Someone else had. The Blackwell estate had never felt so oppressive. Eleanor had dismissed most of the staff after her husband's death, fearing disloyalty and betrayal. Only Mrs. Hargrove, the aging housekeeper, remained, her sharp eyes always watching, her loyalty unquestioned. As Eleanor stared into the fire that evening, her solitude was interrupted by a knock at the door. She rose cautiously, her heart pounding. Inspector Charles Grayson, ma'am, announced the figure in the doorway. He was tall, with piercing blue eyes that seemed to see through her. I'm here to continue the investigation into your husband's death. Eleanor stiffened. I've already spoken to the authorities, Inspector. Grayson stepped inside, shaking the rain from his hat. And yet, new evidence has come to light. A witness claims to have seen you purchasing arsenic from the apothecary in town. Eleanor's breath hitched. I bought arsenic, yes, but not for my husband. It was for the rats in the cellar. Ask Mrs. Hargrove. She can confirm it. Grayson's gaze remained steady. I'll speak with her. But you must admit, Lady Blackwell, the timing is suspicious. Over the following days, Grayson made himself a presence in Eleanor's life, questioning the staff, inspecting the estate, and poring over her husband's belongings. Despite her initial distrust, Eleanor found herself intrigued by the inspector. He was intelligent and methodical, yet there was a softness in his demeanor that suggested he didn't fully believe the rumors about her guilt. One evening, as they walked through the gardens, Eleanor spoke cautiously. Do you think I killed him, Inspector? Grayson glanced at her, his expression unreadable. I think everyone has secrets, Lady Blackwell. My job is to uncover the truth. His words stung, but they also sparked something in Eleanor, a determination to uncover the truth herself. Eleanor began her own investigation, starting with her late husband's financial records. She discovered that Lord Blackwell had been hiding a mountain of debt, a fact he had never shared with her. More troubling, there were large, unexplained withdrawals in the weeks before his death. Who would he have trusted with this? Eleanor wondered aloud one night, pacing her study. Perhaps someone closer than you think, Mrs. Hargrove said quietly from the doorway. Eleanor turned to the housekeeper. Do you know something? Mrs. Hargrove hesitated. I've seen Mr. Aldridge, the estate manager, meeting with unsavory characters in the village. I didn't think much of it at the time, but now, Eleanor's stomach tightened. Mr. Aldridge had been her husband's confidant for years, but could he have betrayed him? The next morning, Eleanor confronted Mr. Aldridge in his office. I know about the debts, she said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. And I know you've been meeting with strangers in the village. What were you and my husband hiding? Aldridge's face paled, but he quickly recovered. I don't know what you're talking about, my lady. Your husband's affairs were his own. Eleanor leaned closer, her eyes narrowing. If you're lying, Mr. Aldridge, I will find out, and I will ensure you pay for what you've done. That evening, she shared her suspicions with Grayson. Aldridge had access to the brandy, she said, and if he was involved in my husband's financial troubles, he might have had motive to silence him. Grayson nodded. It's worth investigating. But be careful, Lady Blackwell. If Aldridge is guilty, he won't take kindly to your interference. Late one night, Eleanor decided to search Aldridge's office herself. She lit a candle and crept through the darkened halls of the estate, her heart pounding in her chest. Inside the office, she rifled through drawers and cabinets until she found a ledger hidden beneath a false bottom. The entries detailed bribes and illicit transactions, all leading back to Aldridge. Before she could leave, a shadow loomed in the doorway. "Lady Blackwell," Aldridge said, his voice cold. "What are you doing here?" Eleanor's mind raced. "I could ask you the same, Mr. Aldridge. What are you hiding?" Aldridge lunged for her, but before he could reach her, a figure appeared behind him, Grayson. The inspector subdued Aldridge with practiced ease, his eyes meeting Eleanor's with a mixture of relief and admiration. "You're braver than I expected," Grayson said as he secured Aldridge. "And you're more useful than I expected," Eleanor replied, her lips curving into a faint smile. Under interrogation, Aldridge confessed to poisoning Lord Blackwell. The debts had been mounting, and when Lord Blackwell threatened to expose his mismanagement, Aldridge had acted to protect himself. The scandal rocked the village, but Eleanor's name was cleared. For the first time in weeks, she could walk through town without feeling the weight of suspicious stares. Grayson visited her one last time before leaving the estate. "I suppose this is goodbye," Eleanor said, her voice tinged with sadness. "For now," Grayson replied. "But if you ever find yourself in need of an ally, you know where to find me." Eleanor smiled faintly. "Thank you, Inspector, for everything." As he rode away, Eleanor stood in the doorway of the estate, the rain falling softly around her. She was free, but the ordeal had changed her. The world she had once known was gone, replaced by one where trust was fragile and survival required strength. And Eleanor Blackwell was nothing if not strong.